play stupid games, get your bones taken away.
You can't take my bones.
Ash and Zach are super smart. They went to college and learned a bunch of stuff. And Bo and Andrew didn't go to college because that's just the way life goes sometimes. What happens when you put them together and you try to make them learn? Grab your friends, let's listen together on Get Dumped on an Info Dump podcast.
Hey, hi, hey, hello, hi. I'm glad you're here this week. We're ready for another fantastic episode, another Hump Day, Dump Day episode for all of us, especially.
Did you say fantastic?
Yeah, because I was driving a minivan. So
You got Vans on the mic.
everything is fantastic for me. Anyway, let me be the first to say happy Peruvian Independence Day.
Yes, absolutely.
we're
Happy
continuing that?
Peruvian
Okay, cool.
Independence Day.
The 28.
See, normally we do things on the 5th episode, but apparently we decided not to do our normal routine. We're going to switch it up and just do a regular episode because, you know, we
were gone for so long.
We used to have structure, but then we decided to just throw it all out the fucking
Anarchy!
window and we do it
We've
here.
never
And-
had structure. Bo, do you
Anarchy!
need me to step in?
No, I got this. Just let me just...
Instead of attacking the audience, he's attacking ourselves now.
See, when I do the intros, it's just I'm just gonna word vomit for a bit, and it helps me get rid of everything I need to say. It just gets it out, so I'm good for the rest of the episode.
Yeah, everybody loves listening to that too. It makes for a really good listening experience. Stream of
I like it.
consciousness, Bo.
I personally like it. I'm not gonna lie.
Especially because Zach's hosting today, right? And so it's like let me get all my anger out because he's just gonna go on and on and on. Anyway, I'm glad you guys are back and you decided to continue listening even after my ramble. But let's go ahead and do our normal introduction, shall we? First of all, it's me. You know me, the hostess with the mostest. It's Bo. Hey, Bo. Hey, how you doing? Good.
Hi, Bo.
Hey, Zach. Hey. How you doing,
Hi.
Zach? How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How you doing?
Good. That's Zach. He's hosting
Why
today.
does Bo always ask himself how he's doing?
And you heard that voice, the guy who's asking fucking questions for some reason. That's Andrew.
Hi,
Andrew's-
I'm very questionable right now.
Yeah, I'm questioning fucking still doing this podcast. Me too, dude. Me too. And then the lady who brings us all down. Not down, sorry.
Whoa.
Brings us all
Damn.
down.
Whoa.
Jesus
The word
Christ! I'll
vomit is
just
real.
fucking leave, I guess. Damn.
All right, thank you for listening.
What's happening?
I don't know why I said down. That word slipped
He's attacking
out.
us.
Maybe
He's
this is
attacking
how I
us.
really
Jesus
feel.
fucking Christ!
Anyway,
What's
that's
going
it.
on?
They say podcast words are sober thoughts.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's Ash. Hey, Ash, how you doing?
I was better before 5 seconds ago.
I'm sorry.
I'm very excited for Zach's episode. I think Zach brings the best episodes.
You know what? I also agree.
Whoa,
My
hey.
favorite episodes are only Zach-only episodes.
Sorry,
The
Andrew.
last episode was amazing.
I like Zach's episodes. I'm sorry, Zach's my favorite member of the podcast.
That's
Oh,
biased.
thanks.
That's biased.
Do you know who my favorite member is? You guys want to ask me?
Yourself?
Let me guess. It's fucking Bo.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is.
It's me.
Yeah.
I
And
love
that's
me
why
some
you're
me.
everybody's least favorite because you love yourself enough for everybody.
I completely get it. I'm not everyone's cup of tea, but if you do enjoy my tea,
But
then
you're your
I
own
like
cup
you.
of tea.
But yeah, more for
Everyone
me, I
loves their
guess.
own brand, man. Everyone loves
It's like
their own
when
brand.
you. It's like when you rip a stank one and everyone's like, "Oh God," and you're actually like, "Oh, it's
You're
kind
like,
of
you know
good."
what? I made
actually.
that. That came from me.
You got a nice smirk on. You're just like, yeah, that's me. That's
Welcome to
all
Get
Bo.
Farted On, the Info
Fucking
Fart
Get
podcast.
a whiff of fucking Bo while you're at it. All right, well, I'm gonna be done talking. Zach, why don't you go ahead and take it away and let's relieve the audience of enough of Bo. What do you say?
I mean, it would be nice if you contributed during the episode.
I don't like doing that.
Bo's here for profiling reasons and profiling reasons only.
Mm.
know
He's just
this.
here to yell at everyone during the introduction and then watch baseball for the rest of
And
the episode.
he no, for real, Bo's here for clout, so he can be like, "I'm on a podcast."
Hey, you know what? Hey, Bo, I'm glad you're here.
I'm glad I'm here too. Thank you.
Hey, Bo. I think you bring everybody down.
I don't know what I like. Let me be the first and last to apologize. I don't know why I said down. I don't know why I said down. I really don't. It slipped. It was supposed to be, I was actually supposed to compliment you, and then I just ended up insulting you. I do feel bad about that because
That just fell out of your mouth so beautifully too. Like it
I know,
brings
and
everybody down.
And I hate it. I feel so fucking bad because I was trying to like bring. Supposed to be like then the person who brings us all together, but I said fucking down.
You said down.
Just down.
You meant like down to earth.
There we go.
Sure.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Zach.
definitely. Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's 100% what I meant. So let me be the first to apologize to you. I'm sorry.
Thanks, Bo.
You don't bring me down at all. If anything, you make the podcast go round.
Thank you. I am like gravity. I pull you down and together.
Okay, I'm done talking for the rest of the
So
episode.
you're the reason my knees hurt?
No, that's evolution's fault.
Oh, okay. Zach, take us away. What do you got?
I don't even know where to go from here. My episode is about some petty fight between scientists.
Okay, into that. I like it when nerds fight because they fight with logic.
We've talked before on this podcast how one of our favorite things is scientists' replies to each other, defending their positions and disagreeing with whomever they are fighting against. Because, you know, any good, like, science discovery has a rivalry.
Mm-hmm.
Name some famous rivalries between scientists.
Well, so here are two famous rivalries in science that I won't be talking about this episode because I didn't research them enough. One is between Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison.
Dude,
Which
Edison's a
resulted-
dick.
Yeah, which resulted in the death of at least one person and at least one elephant. There's a pretty famous fight between Isaac Newton and Gottfried Leibniz, where they argued over who invented calculus. That one's pretty boring.
Everyone knows the answer to that. Everyone knows. Right, Bo? Yeah, Bo knows.
Yeah, Bo knows.
Yeah, but we're good. I'm eating
What are you eating?
Jesus Christ.
What are you eating?
chicken nugget.
That's Bo's contribution to the episode.
All right.
Oh, Bo, you're a podcast gem.
At least it's a finger food and not one of his bowl scraping
Like fucking
foods.
super.
I'm eating them all in one bite. I don't chew. I just swallow it.
All right, well, while Bo is bolusing chicken nuggets,
Call back previous episode. Please don't listen to that one.
So for some
one of our highest
backstory
rated
and
episodes.
self-justification for this episode, what I wanted to do was a few episodes back I talked about wanting to do an episode about the Bone Wars of the 1800s, the Bone Wars. But I wasn't sure that it would be enough episode for a full
one war. Sorry.
I wasn't sure that it would be enough episode for a full episode, so Ash was like, you should turn it into a petty science fights episode. And I was like, yeah, hell yeah, that'd be great. I did one non-Bone War science fight in my notes, and then I went on to do the Bone Wars, and then I definitely ended up having enough to do the Bone Wars. So I'm going to get started on the Bone Wars, and if there's more time, I'll do the other two that I researched.
or if there's not more time, you can extend the series into petty science fights.
Yeah, have
Zach,
this
you
be
have a lot of
yet-
series going
I
on.
have
You
a
gotta
lot of
finish those
series
out.
where I say that it's going to be a series, and then I do one episode.
Well, Bo did that too with his video game part 1, and video game part 2 has not happened for what, like a half a
It's
year?
coming. It's coming next year. Okay.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
but
it's like a Netflix show.
The next Peruvian Independence Day.
So science fights are fun because a lot of scientists have huge egos, right? Because a big part of publishing your research and saying that you're the correct one, it requires a fair amount of ego and self-confidence. And so it results in a lot of cattiness and a lot of really good quotes as well, because a lot of science is publishing your writing. So a lot of scientists end up being relatively decent writers, which means that their burns are pretty eloquent, which is always fun to read. And so sometimes these science rivalries are a boon for science that leads to more discoveries and better results and like some real healthy competition between minds. And then other times it's a massive shit show that sets the entire field back because everyone is too busy just bitching at each other all the time. And those are fun too. And so the first one that I want to talk about is the Bone Wars, which is a little bit of a combination of both. There was some fair amount of scientific progress that was made, and then there's also amount of scientific not progress. What's the word for not progress? What's the word for that?
Stagnation.
Fucking it up. Fuck it up.
Anti-progress.
Anti-progress. There
Big
we
old
go.
goof. Pick a whole bouquet of oopsie daisies.
Yeah. And so this is about a pair of guys who just hate each other so much that they can't help but make it everybody else's problem.
I love that. I
This is
absolutely love that.
This is between two paleontologists named Othniel Charles Marsh, who we'll just call O.C. Marsh because that's what everyone called him, and because Othniel's a weird fucking name.
I'm going to call him Marshy.
Marshy, who we've talked about him before on the podcast. Do you remember which episode he showed up on? We had a nice
Episode
quote.
4.
We had a good
No.
quote from him.
I don't.
He was one of the people who called the Cardiff giant a humbug.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Ah.
Great episode,
O.C.
by the way.
Marshy.
Great episode.
Yeah, old Marshy.
If you haven't listened to the Cardiff Giant episode, please listen. It's a great one.
It's a good one. It was a lot of fun to put together.
I think I hosted really well in that one.
Mhm.
Sorry, keep going.
And Edward Drinker
I think
Cope.
you did too. I just want to go back. Andrew, you did. You hosted
Thank you.
fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, you
His
did a really
name-
good job, Andrew.
Is that like is Drinker a nickname or
No, that was his middle name, Edward Drinker Cope. His name was Edward Cope. His middle name was Drinker. I don't know why.
Edward Drinker Cope? What a name.
He was born in 1840, which is like people
Okay,
have
so we
weird
have
names. back
Marshy and Drinky. Got it.
then. Marshy and Drinky. So Marshy was born on a farm in 1831. His mother died when he was 3, and his father wanted him to become a farmhand, but he showed an early interest in
Fuck
and
you,
aptitude
Dad.
for the natural sciences. And it just so happens that
Can't
his
tell me what to do.
yeah, fuck you, Dad. His dead mom's brother was George fucking Peabody. Peabody.
Also known as Uncle.
But like,
oh wow,
not
his uncle was Peabody?
his uncle was George Peabody,
Wow.
who was he's kind of a very large figure in the 1800s because he was a banker
big?
who got
He was a Cardiff Giant.
probably he looked like a pretty big guy if you look at pictures of him. He got massively obscenely rich. He ended up founding he became one of those rich people who like donated money all over the place so that he could have his name all over everything. And he had an interest in science, so he ended up donating a lot of money to Yale University and Harvard University and a few other places to set up museums. But he also bankrolled Marshy's education because he saw
nice.
promise in the young boy.
Pretty sick to have a rich uncle
hmm
in the exact
Especially when your
field that
dad's
you
just a
want to go
farmer.
into.
The
Yeah.
pathway to success is usually based on a fuckload of money.
And nepotism. Fair
And
amount.
that's
of
the
that,
next
too.
guy.
Lots of nepotism.
Old Drinky Cope, he was born into a very rich, powerful family in Philadelphia in
Born and
1840.
raised.
And so his
Did he spend
main
most of his days on a playground?
It was farm.
Thank
It was a farm, probably.
Well,
It's farm
his
ground.
dad wanted him to become a gentleman land baron, but he
What is
gentleman.
that sounds so sexy. What is that?
it's just a guy who owns a lot of land.
It's a slum lord.
Yeah, it's
It's
basically
a land
slumlord.
baron, but it's a gentleman land baron.
Yeah, well, it's the 1840s, so you have to be fancy about it.
You have to be sexy.
and show that you're better than the Poles.
He
but
probably
his main-
owned the other guy's dad.
Yeah. His main goal in life was to become a good enough scientist to prove to his dad that he didn't have to do that.
Look at me.
So you've
now,
got-
Dad, look at me now, Dad.
Wow, both
Mhm.
of these come down to these men hating their fathers.
You
Pretty
know what,
much, yeah.
In all stories, like that's usually the good way to start. Too,
I learned
with
from
money
watching
and
you.
hating your father.
It's kind of their like motivation is to prove themselves as scientists so that
Fuck
they
you,
can
Dad.
say fuck you, Dad.
Fuck you, Dad.
We've all been there.
So the two of them met in 1863, which is Marshy was studying abroad in Berlin and working on his master's degree.
What was her name? Get it. Thank you.
Hey, Bo. Hey, Bo. Thank you for contributing to the podcast. That was a solid joke.
Pretty good.
You're
And
good.
Cope,
He's eating right now. Oh, okay.
Cope was sent to Berlin by his dad to
you, Dad.
study in Berlin to avoid
fine, if
being
you're
drafted into the Civil War.
Oh shit.
Oh, God.
Oh shit.
Draft
That was
dodger.
a good move. That was a good move.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Did he have
the Civil
bone
War was
spurs?
bad for everyone.
Well, if he's in Berlin,
he was a
you
school.
can't get a
He's a university student.
It's like, I
Yeah.
can't fight. I'm too busy eating sausages.
Being in school.
yeah,
If you're in
being a
school, I'm
university
pretty sure
student,
being in school is one of the things that lets you not be drafted.
it is,
No.
especially
Good
in
to know.
1863.
Good to know for next year.
You're too old, bro. You think they
Yeah.
want you? They're like, these fuck ass knees? Absolutely not.
Can you run? No. Okay.
Yeah. Your knees are on the outside of your legs.
They look
Can-
hilarious.
Can you squat for us? Crack, 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 crack. No, absolutely not.
Crack factory, huh?
So they met in 1863 in Berlin, and they actually hit it off pretty quickly. They were friends.
Oh
at
my god, they're
first
friends
because
to
they-
enemies arc?
Frenemies.
Yeah, there was a friends to enemies arc. They bonded over a natural, like a shared interest in natural history, and by all accounts were fast friends in Berlin. And actually, when they both finished their studies in Berlin, they got back to the state and they wrote letters to each other. And
Aw, cute.
both of them ended up naming fossil species after the other.
Cute.
Cope's-
Oh my gosh.
Cope named a fossil amphibian that he found Tyonius marshii in 1867. And then Marsh returned the gesture by naming a mosasaur that he found in New Jersey, Mosasaurus copeanus.
Cute.
Oh my god, you guys, that's so cute. They were so besties.
Yeah, so at first they were besties.
They were bone besties.
But
Oh my god.
not too long ago,
Bros.
They were bone bros.
Oh, I don't know if that was right.
They were just some wholesome bone bros.
They're just boning each other.
Bros boning each other.
Naming their bones after each other, writing each other
yeah.
letters.
Very sweet.
So
But-
their friendship sadly
Dun, dun,
deteriorated.
dun.
Yeah, there was
How did these two friends go so wrong?
there were two events in 1868 that
The rift.
kind of soured the whole friendship, caused a rift between them. First, that was pretty bad, was that Cope was showing Marsh around a quarry in New Jersey.
Did you push him?
Oh no, Marsh after it was basically, this is a quarry where like I've heard that there are a lot of really cool fossils, like come around here and let's look at these fossils together in this quarry. And then after they left, Marsh got in touch with the guy who owned the quarry and made a deal behind Cope's back to have the quarry owner ship any future fossil finds to him at Yale.
Whoa.
Oh,
Hey.
that's fucked up.
Oh,
That's okay. I see the start of the rift now. I understand why he was mad.
And then after that, Cope,
He boned him.
he
boned
got
him.
boned.
He got boned real hard.
Cope received a fossil of an unidentified plesiosaur from a guy in Kansas. He sent it to Cope, and he named it Elasmosaurus platyurus. You may have heard of an Elasmosaurus.
Oh yeah, big fan.
One of the things about Cope that comes up a lot in the Bone Wars is that he was generally in such a rush to make sure that his findings were published first, because a lot of the time, when it comes down to, this was like a hot time in paleontology.
It's the sensationalism.
They were kind of like at the forefront of this hot time in paleontology. And the thing about science is that the person who publishes like a species identification first is the guy who gets the credit for it. And so Cope was very hasty.
First come, first serve.
He was very hasty at getting his identifications published. And so he, in his rush to publish about the Elasmosaurus, he misidentifies the direction of the vertebrae and ends up mounting the head at the tip of the tail.
Oh, come on, bro.
What an asshead.
So he was showing it to Marsh and another
Good one, Andrew.
paleontologist
Good one.
friend of theirs.
Thanks. Thank you.
And Marsh pointed out that the head was
It's
at
like,
the
"Hey,
wrong
dipshit."
side. He said the head's at the wrong side here. But apparently he said it, the words have not been recorded, but he said it in a very caustic and mean way.
Hey, you
Jeez.
fucking idiot. Is he trying to eat his own
It's like-
ass? That goes on the
Yeah.
other side.
That's exactly what he said.
This is
Verbatim.
why I told the quarry owner to ship all the fossils to me, because you're obviously fucking stupid.
Yeah,
Mm.
dipshit.
Then,
Cope. More like dope, am I right?
I
Ooh.
got him.
Oh, I wonder if he called him that. That'd be such
Yeah.
a big
Maybe.
burn.
He's like,
And
what are you,
then-
drunk? You a drinky? You drinky drunk? Cope, shut up, idiot.
And then so this led to
You-
Cope
Fuck you, dad.
Cope using
sorry,
his
wait.
money.
Fuck you, Dad.
Fuck you, Dad. Cope used his money to try and buy up every existing copy of the journal this was published in before anyone else could realize what happened.
Wait, he bought them all?
Yeah. And
Damn,
meanwhile,
it must be nice to have money. You
These
can clean up
Richie
all
rich
of your
kids.
fuck ups.
I
Could you
mean,
imagine? Like, you make a stupid like tweet and then you buy Twitter and then that's Elon Musk.
Oh, wait, hold on.
and meanwhile, Marsh started spreading the story as far as he could. Later, recalling the event, he wrote, quote, "When I informed Professor Cope of it, his wounded vanity received a shock from which it has never recovered, and he has since been my bitter enemy." Unquote.
Oh.
Damn. I like this. I like this a lot. I can't wait till they kill each other in combat.
Shortly after that, this escalated a little bit farther. Marsh discovered
More like Darsh. Sorry, I had to.
In
Oh, that was
1870,
solid.
Marsh
Good job.
discovered
Thank you.
He discovered Pteranodon, which you probably recognize.
Cool,
Pteranodon,
yeah.
the flying lizard,
Big
at a
fan.
site in Kansas. And so pterosaurs were known entirely from Europe at this time. There were no pterosaurs discovered in America.
Oh, my God.
And so this was the first pterosaur discovered in America, and it was bigger than any European specimen.
Oh,
so
get
this
fucked.
was
Big ol'
very
chonkers.
exciting for Marsh. So he got the fossils and started, bringing them back to start like working on them and analyzing them. And right after he left, Cope showed up at the site to dig further and see what he missed. And he found his own pteranodons, which were even bigger than Marsh's.
Oh,
and he just
wow.
started parading them
Seconds?
around.
Holy shit.
But
he
they
started
were
parading
better.
them around like, mine are bigger and better. And so this kind of encapsulates the events of the next decade and a half for both of them.
How did these guys went
decades.
downhill so fast? It seems like they were besties, then all of a sudden they just wanted to
maybe they
each
were
other.
besties in the way that like maybe they were just frenemies that just straight up turned to enemies.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Mean Girls.
Yeah.
I
One of them was Regina. One of them was the one who
Like,
thought
they're
they were nice, but it turns out they were a mean girl in the end. Oh my god!
Oh my
They're
God,
sitting in their
mean girls all along.
cafe in Germany, and they're like, I think that this specimen is very interesting for these reasons. And he's like, I can see why you would think such a thing.
You fucking idiot.
I hate you.
I hate you.
I hate you. I hate you more than I hate my dad.
Marshy was the older one. He was 9 years older than Cope. And for like what people have written about them, he was less charismatic. He was less charismatic, but had more ties because he knew the right people to schmooze with. Cope didn't have as many friends. So I guess, yeah. So Marsh was the more charismatic one. Cope was he was the publisher. He was the one who wrote more, but his work was a little bit sloppier.
Okay.
Well, it seems like he wasn't very good at it because
it seems like he's not good at anything.
He had the benefit of having more money.
Just had a lot of
Marsh.
money.
It seems
Yeah.
like maybe he should have been a gentleman land baron owner.
Oh, sexy.
Oh, gentlemen.
So for the next 15 years, 20 years or so, each one of them is basically kind of continuing this pattern where they're trying to one up the other ones by discovering new species, bigger species, cooler species than the other, and screwing each other over at any point that they could.
They should just screw to get it over with.
I know, right? Just
They
kiss
would-
already.
Just bone.
They even both of them at some point hired spies to spy on the other ones.
Oh my
dig
God,
sites.
guys.
That's petty and I fucking love it.
Yeah. At one
What am I
point,
spying on? These guys' bones. Tell me all about the bones.
I would need to find out all about his bones.
Tell me about any particularly really large bones that he's found.
Imagine the
Tell me to
spy's
put them
like,
on
what the
backwards,
fuck?
too.
Like, the spy's like, okay, I guess.
And steal his journals. And give him a
What
kiss
they-
while he's asleep.
whisper in his ear. It's for me.
I hate you. He'll know what it's
Tell
from.
Mashi, I want him to know it was me.
At one point, Marsh also had his men smash the bones that were left over after they wrapped up field work so that Cope couldn't come in and look at them later.
Oh my god.
What the fuck,
Mhm.
dude?
That's fucked up.
That's really mean.
Yeah. And so what Cope was really doing was what later scientists have referred to as taxonomic carpet bombing, to try and get as many new species identifications
Oh my
as
god,
possible.
dude.
Which kind of turned Cope in particular into like the ultimate splitter. You know, we talk about lumpers and splitters when it comes to taxonomy. And
Yeah.
so he was naming.
I don't know what that is.
Ash, why don't you explain it? You're pretty good at that.
We've talked before on this podcast about the problem of speciation, where like defining what is not a species very rarely has very clear and defined lines, like either morphologically in the way that they look or genetically in the way that their genes are. And so in the science community, there are generally two camps of people. The people who say everything is a different species, like, yes, these are not subspecies, they're different species from each other. They're more tend to say something is a different species versus lumpers, who are more likely to say, no, these are all just either subspecies or variations of a singular species.
Okay.
Exactly.
Got it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I think you talked about that a little bit in the sharks episode. You said speciation is kind of garbage.
Yeah, and anytime we talk about
Sounds
speciation,
about right.
And I believe she's saying it in that jingle too. I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Stuck in my head.
what Ash does. And I love it.
you know, it's a big mess.
Yeah.
Are you a lumper or a splitter, Zach?
I think I'm a lumper.
Wow.
You look pretty lumpy to me.
I'm so sorry,
Thank
Ashley.
you.
He's a lumper.
Oh, you married a lumper?
You married a lumper.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't. I think I used to be a lumper too.
You
I
deserve a
think now,
splitter.
I think maybe now I'm a little bit more of a splitter, just because
Oh my
like
God. Now
I
they're
would
gonna hate each
rather document all of the variation
other. Hate you.
Oh, they're gonna start fighting.
than
They're
like.
fighting. Hire the spies. Hire the spies quick.
That's fine.
But
I'll
also,
spy on-
you know,
I'll spy on Zach for you. I'll give him that kiss too. Mwah.
but also it depends. So
Yeah.
I'm a lumper who's also a splitter. I'm both.
It's hard to just be one thing, in this day and age.
Yeah, and I honestly I feel like the whole lumper versus splitter thing is like
It's just a
Not
stupid
as-
argument, you know.
it's not as it's not as
in
relevant.
itself a lumping.
I feel like most people these days don't really like follow that, but it was like a really big thing like 15 years ago.
Don't tell him that now. They'll start wars have started over this.
It's like when people thought
Yeah.
people were communists, but
Clearly.
it's lumpers and splitters instead.
Mm-hmm.
Those biologists,
Yeah, go tell a splitter he's a lumper right now. See what
Dude,
reaction you're gonna get
go
from
to
them.
any biologist like convention and the room just splits. There's the lumpers over there and the splitters. It's Mean Girls. It's
It's Bloods versus Crips over here.
shit's wild.
Yeah. All right, here's your homework for this week. Go down to
So back to Cope and being a splitter. So essentially, this time period, he was describing species based on like minor anatomical differences to get as many species out there as they could.
That's not cool, man. You can't be doing that.
I feel like if Cope was alive today, he would fucking love Twitter because he has the soul of a poster.
Well,
One
you said
thing
he
that
was
he
like
did,
the writer, the publisher, right?
yeah, he was the writer, he was the publisher. He's actually one of the most prolific authors in American scientific history.
Oh, too bad he was really bad at science.
And one of the things
also
that he did to help this
Writing things
was
down.
he used his family money to buy the American Naturalist Journal to make sure that his stuff was published as quickly as possible.
Jesus
And also-
Christ.
That's so
I don't like
fucking
this guy.
funny.
He would also just regularly publish hit pieces on Marsh. And it'd just be like, this guy's an asshole. This guy
Oh my
sucks.
God. In the journal that he owns.
Yeah, in the journal that he
Oh
owns.
my
Patty, I
fucking
fucking
God.
love it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's like, I'm going to make my own platform where I can say whatever I want.
Now, if you think that that's petty, this is my favorite
do.
thing that anybody has done in this entire saga, is that he found an ugly little mammal, just like a tiny little like rat-like mammal, and he called it Anisancus copator. And a friend heard about it, and they went to look up the Greek origin of the name copator, and they couldn't figure it out. It's spelled Cophater.
Cope hater.
And so they wrote him, and they were like, "What's this name come from?" And he replies, "Quote: It's no use looking up the Greek derivation of copator because it is not classic in origin. It is derived from the union of two English words, cope and hater. For I have named it in honor of the number of cope haters that surround me."
Oh.
I love this guy.
So
oh
he
my
named
God.
it after himself, after his haters.
Yeah, because he was the less charismatic one. He had plenty of people who did not like him because of just the way that he
named
was.
it after his haters. That's so
he
funny.
named it
You know
after
what?
his haters.
I didn't like Cope, but now I love this guy.
He's got the soul of a poster, man. I'm telling you.
He's got the soul of a shit poster.
Which is great.
Keep commenting, keep pressing those down arrows. Any engagement helps me out. Keep being a hater. Hashtag Cope hater.
Oh yeah,
It's
he
like
would
the
absolutely
person,
be posting rage bait.
That's the person who's driving on the road with like, I love my haters, and they're driving like an asshole the whole time.
Yeah, yeah. Marsh
You
is
do
a
this
piece
to
of
yourself,
shit.
bro. You do this to yourself.
Yeah, Marsh sucks.
Fuck Marsh. Fuck Marsh.
So in 1877, next major event here is that a geologist named Arthur Lakes, he found some dinosaur bones near Colorado, and he told Marsh about his findings because Marsh was the more like publicly known name. But Marsh didn't respond in time because he was more interested in mammals at the time. So he sent them over to Cope, the fossils, which then got Marsh's attention because he was like, "What? Cope got these fossils? I was
you're
just
sending to
about to
him?
write a
Oh."
letter." And so they fought very bitterly over it. And then that site and another site called Como Bluff in Wyoming became their major battleground for the next like 5 years, which is probably the time when the Bone Wars got closest to actually being like a real hot war.
The Bone Wars began.
There was skullduggery. Cope hired a guy to steal bones from Marsh. There was a few times where the teams that they had hired were like throwing rocks at each other.
Oh, wait. Can I say something? Can I say something?
Yeah.
Begun. The Bone Wars have. Star Wars reference. Got it.
Star Wars reference.
Nice. Big fan of Star Wars here.
Nice.
You got to say
They're
it in a
throwing
more
rocks at each
Yoda-
other?
You got to do it in a more Yoda voice. though.
Begun. The Bone. I can't do it. I'm sorry. Keep going.
That was good. That was good. Believe
It
me.
was good. Yeah, keep
you-
it.
No, I don't want to do it.
Commit to it.
Bo, can you do it?
Commit to it.
No, this is your thing,
Okay.
dude. I'm
Begun.
gonna steal your
The
thunder.
Bone Wars have.
I'm gonna do it as Ray Romano. Begun. The Bone Wars have. that wasn't good.
Nah,
That was
can you
not
do it as
good.
the old prospector?
Begun. The Bone Wars have. I'm no prospect. The bones are warring over here. It's
Now, can you do it as a British man in Detroit?
Oi there, mate. The Bone Wars. Are they popping off? A bunch of bogans throwing rocks.
All right. That's Australian.
Vulcan's
Oh,
Australian.
shit.
And at one point, there was an armed standoff also. The old prospector
God.
probably participated in it.
That ramped up.
Yeah.
No prospect.
Give me
Let me away
musket.
from my bones. Get my pistol.
Now, by 1882, Marsh had become the head paleontologist for the United States Geological Survey, which was kind of like a fresh new government institution. And
Sick.
so now he had these new political connections, which he used to cut off Cope's government funding.
Wow.
And basically stop giving Cope any government money to do any of this
Jesus
stuff.
A
Christ.
decisive victory.
Yeah,
Well,
and so
if you cut off the money stream, that seems like that was his only like big poker chip. So I'd say that's a good move if you really wanted to, fuck that guy over.
yeah, he had basically by this point he had spent most of his like inheritance from his dad, and yeah, he was relying on federal grant money for a lot of his fossil expeditions. Well, he wasn't like Cope and Marsh weren't going on a ton of these expeditions themselves. A lot of the times they were just hiring people to go out and get the bones for them and then ship them back to bring them back to them.
Which is just the absolute worst way to do science.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, right. I agree.
Mm-hmm. But so Cope tried to compensate for this by investing in a silver mine, which was basically the 1880s version of putting all your money into crypto, because the silver mine went tits up and left him more or less penniless, and his cousin wife left him and took their kid.
He was married to his cousin?
Yeah, of course he was. He was a rich guy in the 1800s.
Money, right? Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Ew.
So then Marsh decided to kick him while he was down and
Naturally.
tried to seize Cope's personal fossil collection under the
Damn.
reasoning that they were collected on government money, so that meant that they were government property. But Cope retaliated. He was actually ready for this. He had receipts that he'd been collecting for the past decade plus in a folder that he called his Martiana.
Oh my
Just naming
these
shit
guys,
after
these
it.
guys
Oh my
need
God.
to kiss already. I can't.
But so basically he had receipts that every fossil that he had in his personal collection was acquired on digs that he had funded with his personal money. So they couldn't take them. They couldn't take the fossils because
you can't take my bones.
You can't take my bones. It's my bones. It's my money.
That's funny.
And
I
so then,
legally acquired them.
Good
and
job,
then
Bo.
within his folder of Martiana,
Thank you.
he had receipts for basically every personal and professional mistake that Marsh had made over the last decade.
Wow.
And so he alleged that Marsh had plagiarized his writing, these were like
Oh.
questionable allegations, but then he had much more legit accusations that Marsh was misusing government funds on his own.
Oh.
And so then Marsh responded to
the
that.
scandal.
And then the two of them got into a really long, nasty, drawn-out public fight in the press, which
this hasn't been
basically
a nasty public fight already this entire
well,
time.
a lot of this was just kind of done
he
privately
was
between
slandering
the two
him on
of
his
them.
own website or whatever the hell he bought.
Yeah, well, this was a scientific journal. The only people who were reading this were other paleontologists,
That's
you know?
true.
Yeah,
That's
it was
true.
big in the science community, but just regular people.
Now they're like publishing letters in the New York Times that are like, this guy's a bitch. No, this guy's a bitch. And really the main kind of effect of this was
Kinda
that
wanna read those.
it just destroyed both of their public reputations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not good for anybody.
And
Yeah,
honestly,
and then
they
public
both probably
squabble.
deserve it.
Yeah.
Think about like
And
back in
then-
the days of like the MySpace days, like there were people who had very open fights on the internet and people were just sitting there reading and just fucking eating popcorn.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But
Oh, I would
in
tune-
the
I would
end,
tune
both
into
of
that
them look like idiots.
Every week.
Yeah. Then
I'd be
this
like,
led
go
to
get the paper. It's time.
Go get the New York Times, honey. We're gonna see
See what Darsh said
see
this
what
week.
squabbles.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, Marsh, not Darsh. Sorry.
So this led to a federal investigation of Marsh because of these accusations of mishandling public money. And so this slashed his funding too. And then the Smithsonian demanded that Marsh too turn over his personal collection of fossils for the same
What
reason
goes
that he
around
demanded
comes
Cope's.
around.
in the end, they destroyed each other.
Yeah, and eventually Marsh was removed from his position in the USGS, but actually not because of any of Cope's allegations, but because of the constant bad press was making the USGS look bad.
Yeah, and in the end, you can't make the sponsors angry. I know
Fuck
that.
around,
Yeah,
Play
and so,
play stupid games.
but because both of
Get
their
your bones taken
reputations
away.
were demolished,
You got
Cope,
no bones.
yeah, Cope had nothing
We got
left
no
but his
bones.
fossil collection, so he had to sell his fossil collection to the American Museum of Natural History for $32,000, which sounds like a lot, but he spent like hundreds of thousands of dollars to acquire them. And then he ended up getting ill and dying when he was 56 in 1897.
Okay, so he's dead.
Marsh-
Now.
Yeah, so he's dead. Well, yeah, of course he's dead now.
So he lost.
Well, Marsh died 2 years later.
Oh,
In
well, it's because he had no
1899.
one to squabble with.
Yeah,
He
With
lost the
100
fight in him,
with $186 in his bank account.
Oh.
Holy shit!
Because the Smithsonian repossessed 80 tons of his fossil collection. But he found a loop.
Dude, in
Yeah.
the end, they destroyed each other. Like,
Yeah.
That's nuts.
The crazy thing, though, is that 80 tons is not the majority of his collection. He found like some sort of loophole that let him leave the actual bulk of his collection to the Peabody Museum at Yale, which is the museum that I grew up going to.
And now
I've
the
seen all these
Smithsonian and the
fossils.
Yale took over that squabble for the Bone Wars, and it continues to this day. I'm making shit up.
And so you can see a lot of Cope's fossils. You can see you can see casts of most of Cope's fossils on display at the American Museum of Natural History in New York City, and you can see casts of a lot of Marsh's fossils at the Peabody Museum in New Haven, if you're interested in that sort of thing, or at the Smithsonian.
Oh, cool.
I'm not.
The collections that they left behind ended up being really important pieces. Like, this was kind of like the bulk of what these museums based their dinosaur displays on for 100 years. It's really interesting. And so like both and they became the basis for years of paleontological study. At the end of it, just based on dinosaurs, they both found a lot of other things than just dinosaurs, but they're most famous for dinosaurs. So at the beginning of the Bone Wars, there were only
The Bone Wars.
there were only 9 named species of dinosaur that had come out of America.
What?
And Cope ended up identifying 56 species of dinosaurs and Marsh 80 species of dinosaurs. And
So Marsh
many of
won,
these,
really.
yeah, Marsh, I guess, won in the end.
Marsh also started it, though, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, Marsh was a bitch.
he was a bitch. He did kind of start it. But so many of these dinosaurs that they ended up finding are like the big famous ones that everybody knows. So like Triceratops, Allosaurus, Diplodocus, Stegosaurus, Coelophysis, Apatosaurus, Camarasaurus. These are all ones that the two of them.
Hell yeah,
Or
those
one
are
of the other.
hard hitters in the North America paleontology game.
The Como Bluff, the site that they fought over for a half decade, is like a legendary fossil site where a lot of really incredible stuff came from. And so they really upped that number.
And we know now that North America was fucked up with dinosaurs.
Yeah, fucked up with dinosaurs. A lot of the really best ones came from America. And I can say that.
USA. USA.
Marsh also was admittedly more interested in mammals, and he got a lot of science cred more for his dinosaur stuff than for he sequenced the evolution of horses in a really groundbreaking way, which is
Horse
pretty
evolution's
interesting.
wild, too.
Oh, yeah. Because of this was a race and a war, there did end up being a fair amount of
Race
sloppy
war.
work being done. Oh, God. Oh, geez. I didn't mean to say it like that. Remember Cope's Elasmosaurus boner?
Yeah,
Marsh kind of had a similar one. He discovered a sauropod. You remember the sauropods are the long-necked dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, of course.
So he discovered
Big
a
fan.
sauropod that he named Apatosaurus, which is a name that
We've
everyone
talked
knows.
about that.
Yeah, we've heard that.
But it was missing the skull, so he assumed that a skull that was found nearby went with that skeleton. And
can
then
never
later,
just assume that.
he found another sauropod that he called Brontosaurus. But then in 1903, and this one did have the skull, and then in 1903, after they had both died, it was determined that this skeleton was actually the same as Apatosaurus, but the Apatosaurus skull had a Camarasaurus skull on it.
He put
But this
the
didn't really
wrong
affect him
head
because
on
it was, he put the wrong skull on it. And it turned out that like a Brontosaurus wasn't actually a thing. But that was in 1903 after he died, so it didn't really affect him while he was alive. But in 2015, a re-examination of the specimen indicated that it was actually morphologically distinct, and they restated the Brontosaurus genus, which is interesting.
Huh.
So the results of the feud, it made European paleontologists think that all American paleontology was petty bitch fights, and they at least one American paleontologist quit paleontology because he was tired of being stuck in between their squabbling. This guy named
I'm out.
This guy named Joseph Leidy, who worked pretty closely with both of them at some point in his career. He was also a really cool guy, though. He studied parasites, and he was...
Oh, so he studied Marshy and Drinky? Because they were... that was a joke.
Because they were, yeah.
No, it's a good joke.
But
I'm laughing. Don't worry.
Thank you.
He
Mike's
was
not
an
picking it up,
early...
that's all.
He was an early adopter of the microscope. He did a lot of really cool stuff with microscopes.
Oh, cool.
He discovered he identified the source of trichinosis in pork, the worms that'll get you sick from eating undercooked
nice.
pork, and the source of canine heartworm. And this is really cool. In 1846, he was the first person to ever use a microscope to solve a murder mystery.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, a man who was accused of killing a farmer had blood on his clothes and hatchet. But he was like, this is chicken blood. I've been slaughtering chickens. And so Leidy, he examined the blood under the microscope, and he realized that it was not chicken blood.
Dun dun dun.
So
Sorry.
basically, there's there's no nuclei in the erythrocytes of the cell, which means that it's a
Everyone
human
knows
cell.
that.
Yeah,
Everyone
common
knows that.
knowledge. Common
Yeah.
knowledge.
Big fan.
And
big
not
fan.
a chicken erythrocytes. So he concluded that the bloodstains could not have been chicken blood, and then the suspect confessed to the murder. So that's fun.
Dang. That's so funny because
I
these
would have
two
got
over
away
here.
with this damn microscope.
Oh, this guy with his damn microscope. These two are over here squabbling, having their petty fights about who's smarter. Meanwhile, this guy's solving murders. Being
Yeah,
like, I wish I could study paleontology, but these
That's
two
really cool.
fuckos.
That's super cool.
It was before this whole thing started. It was in 1846, which was when Cope himself was 6 years old. So,
Oh, okay, never mind.
Get good, idiot.
but it was still pretty cool. He was a pretty cool guy.
No, that's awesome.
And a final kind of coda to this whole thing is that when he died, and this is going to make you like Cope a little bit less, but when he died, Cope left his skull to science as a challenge to Marsh to also leave his skull to science so that they could weigh each other's
oh my
brains.
God, they're fucking at the end. They
Jesus
fuck after
Christ.
that too. Jesus Christ.
My
It
brain
was-
is bigger.
So that they could weigh each other's brains and see who had the bigger brain at the end.
God.
Oh my God.
Well,
But
who-
Marsh
As if that
never
means
accepted the
anything.
challenge.
Oh,
Marsh never
yeah.
accepted the challenge.
Oh, what a bitch.
He's like, I don't have
Yeah.
to. It's whatever. It's fine. I already know it's bigger.
Yeah, but Cope's skeleton ended up kind of having a funny story after he died. So there's a rumor that he wanted to be made the type specimen for Homo sapiens because he was a big racist and he wanted like
Get
a
fucked.
Caucasian man to be the type specimen. But there's no written evidence for that. There's no written evidence that he wanted it to be the type specimen. There's a lot of written evidence that he was a racist.
Oh.
And so after he died, the Museum of Anthropology at the University of Pennsylvania, which is different than Penn State, it's the University of Pennsylvania, which is a really good museum. I went there for a conference once. I recommend if you're ever in Philadelphia
Not
to check it
doing
out.
That. No,
Philadelphia.
not doing that.
Born and
You're taught-
raised.
Yeah, no.
The skull and the skeleton stayed in the basement at this museum until 1966, when a random professor this is according to Mental Floss article, a professor named Lauren Isley discovered it, and he was like, well, this is like Edward Drinker Cope. This guy's like a legend in paleontology. It's weird that his skeleton is just in two boxes underneath in the basement of the museum. So he brought it into his office and he started keeping it in his office. He was calling it like Eddie and like hanging out with it. He like celebrated his birthday and like toasted the skeleton when he
This
was
guy
drinking
has
in his
mental-
office.
Extremely
This guy is-
disrespectful.
This guy has some mental issues. What the
And
hell?
so he told his nephew about it and told him that
he's weekend at Bernie's eating it.
and he told his nephew that he wanted to be buried with Cope's skeleton when he died.
Okay,
Just
so now
bury
he
Cope's
wanted to bone the
skeleton.
bones.
And so he died in
How
1977.
many times did he kiss it?
And said nephew tried to smuggle said bones out of the university by taping them to his body.
Oh my God.
This is like the last episode where Bo took apart the bike.
He realized that he couldn't get into the like morgue and hide the bones in his casket, and he started freaking out. So he gave up and returned the bones to the museum.
Did he tape them
Like-
again to his body on his way back
like,
in?
Before anyone noticed that they were gone. He didn't. I don't think he even got them out of the museum before. He was like, "Oh, jeez, oh God." So
Oh
then,
my God.
back at the museum, they stayed in these
What
two
is happening in the
boxes
scientific community? This is fucking wild shit.
until the 1990s, when some documentarians were capitalizing on Jurassic Park mania, and they were shooting paleontology stuff at museums across the country. They were like touring around doing paleontology stuff. And so while they were in Philadelphia, they
Born
heard
raised.
that
Born and raised.
yeah, they heard that Cope's bones were at this museum, and the person who told them about that like left instructions for the museum to like leave the bones at a desk for them to like look at. But they were like, oh, so they're like lending us the bones, and so they took the bones with them, and they ended up taking the bones like on this road trip with them as they went around the country
Road
filming
trip.
stuff and filming this
Road trip.
documentary.
Bone true.
What?
And so they were like, it's kind of fucked up that the skull is currently in like an electrical parts box. And so they made him a new box for his skull made of mahogany lined with velvet. And this part is actually, to me, it's pretty believable that it was just in like an electrical parts box. Because one time I was volunteering somewhere and they were like, hey, can you take a look at this like ancient pot? And I was like, sure. And it was in like an old toaster oven box. So it's like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But they felt, one thing that they said is that they felt uncomfortable leaving it in the van alone. And so when they stopped for lunch, they would bring the skull into diners with them. It's just in this mahogany box.
What is this? What is the story?
What is happening?
And so eventually...
This is somehow weirder than the story you told
Right?
in the last hour.
And so eventually the museum realized that, like, this fucking skull was missing.
This fucking
Because
skull
people
in a
just keep
box.
Wait, what?
forgetting
They
about
just-
the
they just
skeleton of
took
one of the
the
most
skull?
important figures in paleontology. No, they took the whole thing. There was just all the bones
The head was the
were
most
in one
important part.
box, and then the skull was in another box.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And they were like, "It's been like 3 years. Can you bring the skull back?" And they're like, "Okay."
They're like, okay, we're done kissing it.
Fine,
Yeah.
fine.
And then-
your stupid fucking skull.
That's where we keep our. It's like my wallet. I put my stuff in its mouth.
Take him
Yeah.
to Arby's on Tuesdays.
He
And
loves
so
it.
now the skull and the skeleton remains in the the museum, but
No
people
one's tried
actually
to like
pay
fucking
attention. Nobody's
rebuild
tried to
and,
steal
like,
it
hang
anymore.
out
No.
with it. Okay.
Is it like on display or is it still like in the basement?
No,
Have
it's
to
just
hide it
there.
from all the fucking the bone people who can't stop hanging out with this stupid thing.
So it's just
Security
chill.
guard.
It's just chilling in the basement of the university.
Yeah. Where is it? I didn't write it down.
Just throw them away at this point. It's been, these bones have been around too much.
Or like put him in your osteology collection or something.
It's still in the Penn Museum in that fancy velvet lined box. Sometimes
Ooh, velvet.
sometimes they bring a skeleton out for classes about type specimen controversy.
And
but
everyone
they
tries to
actually-
steal it.
They actually pay attention and are like, okay, wait, let's get this back.
It's like the golden poop from American Dad. Anytime anyone sees it, they try to kill everyone around there to try and take it for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Solid
It's a
reference.
hot-
solid
hot
reference.
commodity. Hot
solid
commodity.
Solid reference.
Thank you.
Solid reference.
Thank you. Thank you.
Apparently, his brain is still preserved in alcohol somewhere too.
Did they weigh it?
That's wild.
Oh yeah,
Did you tell me that he had syphilis, or is that somebody else?
it was. It's undetermined if he had syphilis or not. I think.
Oh,
You know, I'm going to go ahead and say yes.
Big
You may have.
syphilis guy.
Yeah.
At
I
one
loved
point, Robert Backer poured pasta into the skull to measure cope
it. Oh
spring
my
size.
God. What the fuck, dude? Stop.
pasta.
Stop.
I don't know, man.
You said the brain was already like they had the brain though. Why would he need the pasta?
Well, because
Well, no,
it's in
because
it's in alcohol.
he-
you know, you don't know. You weigh the thing, and it's like how much of the weight is alcohol and how much of the weight is brain. You don't know.
What the hell is happening in the scientific? There's
Bunch
people
of petty bitches
hanging out
dude.
with a bunch of like this doesn't even have to do with like the fight now. It's like why are these people doing like I'm guessing this happens a lot now based on this one skeleton. How many other skeletons have been defiled over the course of decades?
Yeah, these
Well,
people need to
I mean,
take
we could talk
an
about,
ethics
like-
class.
They need friends.
I mean, but also this guy was a piece of shit and apparently a racist.
True,
So
it
like,
is true.
Mhm.
I don't mind. I don't mind defiling him because he's a piece
but
of
still,
shit. But
I
also,
don't think that
guys,
everybody
what
should
the
be all willy nilly with fucking bones of people.
What is happening? Yeah,
I mean,
just like
we
go get a sport. Go do some hobbies.
we could talk about like the issue of human remains going missing in museums, because that's actually a big problem with NAGPRA, the Native American Grave Protection and Repatriation Act, where a lot of museums have like Native American remains in their collections that they have to return to like
Oh yeah, we
the
talked
Native
about
American
this.
groups.
Various
but a lot
groups,
of them,
Yeah.
it kind of resulted in this like big audit of these museum collections, and there's just a bunch of like missing skeletons.
Well,
which
I
is
remember that's.
great.
I mean, that's if people are stealing them for good reason, like going back to where they're supposed to be going.
Oh,
I'm all for
no,
that.
that's not. I mean, I don't think that's what's happening. I think it's these institutions being like, no, we don't have that. No.
Oh, they're just being assholes.
Yeah.
Got it.
But it's also the fact that these are institutions that have been added to, and for 150 years, they've been like holding these things, and every once in a while, like box gets put behind another box, and then nobody ever looks at it again.
Wow.
Yeah. And like it's kind of crazy when you like I've gotten a few tours of like museums behind the scenes and like known a few like professors and stuff, and the amount of stuff people just like have around, it's like that
Mhm.
you should put that out. Like why is that just in the basement?
Yeah.
There's a lot of history and not a
Yeah.
lot of square footage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bigger museums. That's what we need.
Yeah, we need bigger museums.
Give money to museums.
Give money to museums.
I'm good.
It's good. I like museums.
No, I'm
It's
okay.
fun. Yeah.
Museums should give me money. Yeah, there we go.
So while we're on the topic of natural history, there was another one that this one mostly just comes down to like a really fun burn that I like. Because remember, there were supposed to be multiple examples of this episode, but now we've been going.
You know what? I'm down for another series.
Okay.
If you
Well, this one's-
do it.
I'm not.
This one's short. I'll just say it. This is 3 paragraphs that I have written down.
Okay, so 45 minutes.
A guy named Thomas Huxley. He was a naturalist who got super hooked on Darwin's work. When Darwin published On the Origin of Species in 1859, Thomas
He was
Huxley
a big
was
Darwin
like,
fanboy.
yeah, he was like, oh shit, this is tight. And so he started simping for Darwin all over the place and became such an ardent defender of it that everybody called him Darwin's bulldog. And he was a
Wait.
smoke show.
I remember this. We talked about this
We've
person. haven't
talked
we?
about him. He's got a lot of quotes where he's yelling at people.
Is he the origin of the name Huckster?
No, I don't think so. But
Okay.
he is related to an ancestor of Aldous Huxley.
Well, so he loved Darwin so much they actually called him a Dwifty. It's like a Swifty. Oh, it was a joke.
Oh,
It was
I
a
get
joke.
it. I
It was a
get
joke.
it.
It was a joke.
Yeah.
It was a joke.
Mm-hmm.
Did you say he was a smoke show?
He was a smoke show.
He was hot as fuck.
Look up photos of young Thomas Huxley.
Thomas Huxley. Okay, I'm gonna do that.
And then the other person in this is Samuel Wilberforce, who has a great name, but he was not a smoke show. He was a
wow,
bishop.
this guy had blue steel looking face. Look at this guy.
He has
Yeah.
mutton chops for days.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Pretty hot. But Samuel Wilberforce was not hot. He was a bishop, and he hated evolution.
He was not hot. He
Same.
hated
Boo, I love
his looks,
evolution.
and therefore evolution, and therefore the world.
Mm-hmm. And so this is just a pretty decent, at one academic conference type situation in 1860 about Darwin's work. Wilberforce got up after a talk and he started saying defamatory things about evolution and procreationism, anti-evolution. He actually talked and had a lot of correspondence with Richard Owen, who we remember did not like Darwin from another previous episode. But at one point, so he got up and started like saying mean things about evolution, and then Huxley stood up and was like, "You fucker! Like evolution is real," and they started yelling at each other. And then Wilberforce asked if Huxley's grandfather or grandmother was an ape, to which Huxley said that he'd rather descend from an ape than a man who misused his great talents to suppress debate.
Damn, that's a good burn.
And then the real burn of the situation is years after that. Wilberforce died because he fell off a horse, and Huxley wrote about it to a friend of his, and he said, "For once, reality and his brain came into contact, and the result was fatal."
Damn.
That's petty. Oh, petty bitch, dude. I love these people.
That's stone cold.
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Different guy.
Wait, that's
Different
John
guy.
Cena.
So then I have another story. It's pretty good, but it'll take a minute, so we'll save it, and I'll just have one ready for if I turn this into a series ever.
Please do. This was great.
We
Yeah.
can call it the Petty Bitches series of science
You know,
fighting.
Everyone loves spilling tea, and scientist tea seems to be fucking crazy. So
I
yeah, I'm all
love
into
petty
it.
science fights.
Yeah, petty science fights are great. And I can actually talk about Tesla versus Edison and why it resulted in the death of an elephant.
Gosh, that was really depressing. We've already talked about that, actually.
We talked about that.
I think we did, yeah.
Yeah, we could have.
No, we did.
We did. We 100% did.
Okay, well then I won't talk about that. I'll talk about something else.
Okay. What a great episode.
What was everyone's favorite part?
The pettiness.
Do you have anything in specific?
Oh yeah, the brain measuring contest.
I liked when he named his the co-paters.
Yeah, that was when I came down yesterday, and I was like, "Oh, I just found something that you're gonna love, but I don't want to tell you about it until we record."
You were right. I did love it. I loved it.
This whole episode just made me very happy, but also very cringe.
And also sad and also confused because what the fuck were they doing at the end? And also stop being bad at science. And also what? Why would you take a head on tour? I don't. No, that's weird.
Yeah, that whole like after their death part made me very uncomfortable. But the whole squabble and fight thing, I really think I think Ash was right. Is that when they met, they were pretending to be friends, and they were just waiting for the opportunity to just start going after each other.
Right.
Like the fact that they hired spies to spy on, that's fucking hilarious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I love
Or
it.
Pretty
when
Great episode.
that one guy offered him the bones, and he's like, I don't really care. Oh wait, you're offering to Copley, whatever the fuck his name is.
Give me the bones.
I hate him. Give me that. I want them.
Bones.
I hate you.
And that he got and that he got his comeuppance in the end, because it seems, by all accounts, it seems like Marsh started this fight.
Yeah.
And then
in the end, they destroyed each other.
They destroyed each other, and he got a bunch of his bones taken away in the same way that he tried to get Cope's bones taken away.
And
It
then
all
his
wrapped
bones
up.
were taken away.
And then his bones were taken away. Oh my gosh.
And they got Weekend at Bernie's.
It's
was the whole
Bone
thing.
Wars, but it's also Bone Shenanigans.
Yeah.
Great time.
Yeah. And this was even like, there's still even a lot more information about this that you could learn if you are interested. This is, the hour-long podcast version. This would be 3 episodes if I included all the details, but I didn't want to because that's too many details.
Yeah.
Just dive deeper into the barrel of pettiness
Yeah.
and see what you find.
Yeah.
Bo, take us out.
Oh, here we go. Hey, Zach, thanks for this wonderful edition of Petty Bitches. It was a great episode.
That's a really good, like, if you're making this a series, the Petty Bitches episodes. It
I don't
doesn't
know
have to be about science. It can be about anything.
Do you think that putting bitches in the title would would like kill us in the algorithms?
Maybe, but I love it.
Yeah, I love it. Who cares about algorithm? This is just a hobby of mine. Anyway, Zach, wonderful episode per usual. You're my top 3 of podcasters on this.
Oh, thanks.
Bo is
on
number
this,
1.
The show. Yeah. No. I hate my episodes. I hate when I do it. That's why I don't do it. Yeah. I'm just here for the ride.
You just said
guys-
that's one of your favorite things to do or something, and now you just said you hate doing it.
Well, I hate being a part of it. I love being a part of it. I hate doing it. Right. You know.
Tell the people where they
Okay.
can find us.
Yeah.
Well, they can find us at stuff. There's the internet. Just go ahead
And
and
places.
Google.
Yeah.
Just Google Bo, and first thing that pops up is this show.
All
I
right.
don't
Yeah.
think that's
Awesome.
accurate.
What is the
I'll-
first thing that
I'll
pops
send an
up?
email to Google.
Let
Can
us
you
know
do-
if you have any petty fights that you have
Yeah.
taken part in.
If you want to air your grievances on podcast, you're more than welcome to come on and be a guest. Either way, you can find us at getdumpedonpodcast@gmail.com or getdumpedonpodcast on Instagram.
The Instagram, yeah, same thing. In the email, the Reddits, the YouTubes, we're everywhere. We're fucking everywhere.
Yeah.
We're in your ear holes.
It's like we hired a
every
spy.
fucking Wednesday.
Yeah.
You get to put us in your ears.
Oh my God. All right. We'll see you later.
Good afternoon,
It's
good
not
evening,
bad.
and good night.
See you later.
All
Bye.
right.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. That was a really good episode. Thanks, Zach.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. That was so
Bye,
good.
Zach. Bye, Zach.
Petty
Bye, Zach.
fights.
Bye, Zach.
Blah, blah,
Bye.
blah,
Bye.
blah,
Love you.
blah, blah.
Bye.
Ash and Zach are super smart. They went to college and learned a bunch of stuff. And Bo and Andrew didn't go to college because that's just the way life goes sometimes. What happens when you put them together and you try to make them learn? Grab your friends, let's listen together on Get Dumped on an Info Dump podcast.
And that includes the Bone Wars.
And so the Bone Wars. Do they really ever end?